Analyze our games, part 19. Some things in chess are really upsetting. Some results are upsetting. But they shouldn't be, because the results are the consequences of our mistakes, of our plans, of our decisions, and are the result of our bad and good moves. Sometimes we have a winning position, but we are not able to win. And this is what happened in this game. I played it at the public library here in Curitiba in 2020. It was on a Tuesday. It's a very nice place to go to and practice chess. So my opponent is called Ivair, and he played white. He started with e4. I played the Sicilian, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, the Najdorf, bishop e2, e5, knight b3. So this is the beginning of a very nice and interesting game, because when playing e5, I forced my opponent to move his knight from this interesting post on d4, and this square here, d5, is gonna be the most important part of the board. It's gonna be a very important square to be protected or defended, and I wanted to take control of it and defend it. So my opponent played knight b3. I played bishop e6, so protecting, putting one more piece on this hole here. Castles, bishop e7, bishop e3, knight bd7. The idea here is to play b5 and then play knight b6 and to control this d5 square once more. My opponent correctly played a4. I played b6. The idea here is to avoid my opponent playing a5, and also to, in case of a5, I play b5. And it's a very interesting part of a plan. It's winning the objective of playing b5. So then my opponent played f3, protecting this pawn once more. I castled. Queen d2, queen c7. Our queens are getting out of the first rank, so now our rooks are able to play and be moved to the first and 8th rank. So rook fd1, rook fd8, h3. This is usually not very good because of this hole on g3, but at this moment I'm not able to take advantage of this. So maybe in the future I will. So here I decided to play knight c5 to exchange this bishop, this knight, and also to move once more, and in case of the possibility of playing d5. But my opponent played here. I thought he would take on c5. Then I would take with the pawn, and in case of my opponent played queen e1, the game is okay. I can play c4, I can play, not now, but I can double rooks on the d file, so maybe, but it's a completely equal position. Okay, but my opponent played knight d5. Then I took it. Yeah, he took with the pawn, of course. Then I took on b3 It's also possible to play bishop f5, and then after knight takes c5, b takes c5, and again it's a very equal position, or white is slightly better, but nothing much than this. Then in this situation I would get the b file. I could maybe put my rook here or do something. It would be nice to attack this pawn, but it's not possible because the rook is well posted on d2 and I can't play a5 now, but it's okay. But after I took on b5 or b3, my opponent took with the pawn, and I have to defend my pawn. I knew he would play this rook c1, and then I would have to move my queen, and this bishop is well posted here because it protects the c6 square. So I saw what was coming. So rook ac1, queen b7, bishop g5. Here I didn't know, I couldn't see this move coming, but it's okay. I took it, and my opponent took back. I played f6, trying to make my opponent decide what he would do. Of course he wanted to attack my king, but I have to do something to defend it. So queen h5, I played bishop e8 just to make my opponent queen's move. I was a little bit worried about this, but in case of rook f5 I would play bishop d7 and make the queen move again. So queen h4, here I took advantage of this gain of tempo and played my rook. So my opponent was again trying to attack my king, so threatening to take on h7 check, and I wouldn't be intelligent if I allowed this. So I played bishop g6, he took on g6, I took with the pawn. Rook c4, this is nice, it's a nice move. He wants to double the rooks on the c file. It wouldn't be advisable to permit this, so I played b5. My opponent took with the pawn. It's also possible to take the rook and check, and then take on c8, and it's an equal position. And after queen b4, I have this check here, and king h2 and king f7. It's an equal position. There's nothing here. Yeah, my opponent has double pawns here, so it wouldn't be nice to take on b5 because he would get double pawns here, doubled and isolated. So that's why it's a little bit better for black. So after b5, my opponent took, I took with the pawn, and then he played this rook g4. Also possible is to play rook c3. Then I have to take here to avoid this doubling of rooks on the c file. My opponent would take on c3 with the pawn, and then his pawns are okay again. Maybe check here on a7, king h2, and now I have to attack his pawns, and I wouldn't know. It would be important to attack the pawns and do something because my opponent wants to attack my king, so I have to do something. So rook g4, I played g5. Yeah, that's the best way to defend the pawn and also attack the rook, the queen. He played queen f2, and it's not the best option here. The best one is here, queen e1. Why queen f2 is not good because I would be able to exchange queens here with queen a7. Then after take, then black is better. Why black is better? Because of these isolated pawns. And this rook is now not well located here on g4. It has to come back to b4. But then I can defend it with this rook c5, and it's defended. Then I can use this rook to attack the other pawns, and maybe my king can come and try to take these pawns after the exchange of one pair of rooks maybe. So I don't know, that's why black is better. So after queen f2 I didn't play queen f7, a7. I played rook c5. My idea was to attack this pawn, this isolated pawn. So my opponent was eyeing my king. So he played h4. I took it with the pawn, of course, and then my opponent took with the queen. It's also possible to take with the rook, and maybe try to double the rooks here or the queen and attack my king with check here. But I was thinking about this during the game, and I wouldn't allow this easily. So my opponent took with the queen. I played queen f7. The computer suggests g5. Yeah, but it's not easy for human beings to make moves like this. Maybe in case of queen h6, then I can come back with my queen on g7 and then exchange queens, or do something similar to that. So I didn't want to risk. Sometimes we are afraid of risks and we don't win games because of fear. So I played this. My opponent was threatening to take this pawn on f6, yeah, because of the pin here. So that's why I decided to play my queen back to f7 to defend my king. And then he played this, rook g3. Yeah, he now wants to double the heavy pieces here and do something. I played rook a c8, my opponent rook h3, and then I played king f8. It's also possible here, and it would be nice here to play queen g6. Black is a little bit better here. On king f8 it's equal position. And then my opponent played here b4. He was trying to get something on the b file or c file, try to exchange something, but then I was the first one to exchange some heavy pieces. I have a winning endgame, so it's nice to exchange as much as possible. So my opponent took, I took with check, and then king h2, and then I won this pawn on d5. So I get here a winning position, but now I have to convert it, and sometimes this is the most difficult part. And then queen h8 check. It's also possible to play this, queen to g4, and then I go back, and all my what can I say, the key squares are protected by the rook and by the queen, so my opponent has nothing now. And then next time is to play rook c4 and try to win this pawn, this one, or exchange something more, and win the end game. Okay, but after queen h8, I came back with the with the queen, trying to exchange more. If he exchanges, then I get a winning position, no doubt about it. Then he avoided this exchange, of course. I thought about playing this or something to avoid my opponent from coming to f5, but then he has check here and take the rook, so it would be a blunder, a horrible blunder. Didn't play this. I put my rook on a well protected square, so rook c4. Then our opponent played this. He didn't want to lose this pawn. As a matter of fact, black is much better here. So my opponent played this rook h4. I took it, of course. Yeah, took with a check, and then he took with the queen, and then queen e6. Better is to play this, but I have to admit I was a little bit afraid of this exchange here on c4. So take. I would be afraid of this guy coming, but if I take a look at the square, I'm in the square, so I'm able to take this pawn. So I missed one opportunity. And here, if he took, it's undoubtedly, I don't think he would take, of course, but then he would, if he moved his queen, then I would, let's see, check again. And then I have here, then maybe, well, in case of this check here, then I can move my king. Then maybe I can exchange rooks. It would be nice to exchange rooks, eh? This, and king f2, and then I can take here with check or defend the pawn. Two options here. Maybe take on on b2 first with check. Then I get a winning position for sure. It's winning. Okay, but we didn't play this. Let me stop the engine. So after this, in case of check, I would move my king, and these pawns are gonna fall, and this guy can run freely and promote your queen, and the game is winning. But I played this one. I was a little bit afraid of playing queen c4. My opponent checked again. I tried to exchange the queens, but he wouldn't do that. And now queen h3. And now I can play my king to e7. It's a very nice square. My opponent can't come here, nor here. So things are getting great for me. Then my opponent here was a little bit afraid of this position. I could see in his eyes. d5. My opponent's gonna be heading for promotion. It's also possible to play here again queen c4, but I played d5. My opponent king g8, g1, king g1, d4. Now after this d4, my opponent put his queen here, queen c4, winning position. Yeah, he checked on b7, I moved, he checked again, I moved my king, check again, I went to a safe place for now. And then he offered the exchange of queens. During the game, I remember that I thought about playing this. But then I saw that after d3, this pawn would, let's suppose my opponent played something like this to check here, or I don't know, maybe move his king. Then d3, he would take here. But then if I have a check or something, my pawn can go and promote, yeah? There's nothing here. And black is completely winning. Yeah, but I have to admit I was a little bit afraid of this because of the spin here after this. Yeah, but I should have calculated one more move and the position would be winning for me if I had seen this. Yeah, that was a mistake, a horrible mistake. Then after queen e2, it's winning, completely winning. Okay, but I decided to take because I calculated that my king would take this pawn. But what I didn't see was b4 that protected this pawn. That was the thing that I couldn't see during the game. Then I took, my opponent took, I played king f7, b4, this was the move that protected this pawn. Now white has a protected passed pawn. So my king can't go there and take this pawn because it goes down and promotes. So I played f5, king f2, g5. Is there anything better here? f4, maybe. There are some crazy lines here. g5, king e2, and here's the crazy guy. I should have played this, e4. In case of exchange, this move is crazy, eh? f4. Take a look. I'm gonna put an exclamation point here because this is nice. The sacrifice is very nice because in case of this e5, I can move. Now I would have two pawns here and here, so the king is not able to cope with two things here, this pawn and this pawn. And this one, it would be nice to take and easy, and this guy can't advance because I come back and take it. Then black is completely winning. Okay, then in case of this, I would play this marvelous move, g3. Yeah, the idea is to play f3 and this guy goes to the queenie spot. So this, I played this. Take a look, beautiful variation. And if my opponent takes here, I play f3. It has to take on f3 and then g2, and it's winning. Very nice. This is something, that's why it's important to take the games we play and analyze them deeply using computers, using engines, because during the game we're not able to calculate as much as a Stockfish or a Leela, for example. But now, after this analysis, I'm more equipped with these ideas of these pawn advances and even sacrifices. So I'm more prepared for the next opportunity. When I see these configuration of pawns, I'm gonna be able to deal with them with more confidence. So let's go back there. In case of c6, we have some crazy things here that now I'm gonna take the pawn pawn c6, and it's gonna be a question of time. Then I go back to take this one, and it's completely winning. This pawn is a taboo because when white takes this, these two guys are gonna advance and promote. It's very hot here in Curitiba now, and there are many mosquitoes going on in front of us. So let's see, guys. There are some crazy lines here. Let's suppose, okay, this we haven't seen. This, in case of f3, there's a crazy sacrifice here. g4, take a look. Beautiful. What if white takes here? Then this guy goes and promotes. Yeah, easy. What if it takes here? The same thing. It promotes. So all the variations show that I was winning, but I was unable to win this game. It's a tragic thing, isn't it? So king e6, now king d3, king d5, king e2. He was going to and fro, trying to get out of this mess. And here I played e4, so I was a little bit late. I should have played this earlier. There's another idea here, is to play king e6, then king d3, king d7, g4, f takes on g4, f takes on g4, and king c7. My opponent can't take on this one because this guy goes to the promotion. Then king c6, king d3, king d5, king c2, then e4. It's something similar to what happened during the game later. Then king d2, king e5, king e2, e3, then king d3, king d5. There's a kind of a Sutzwang here. Then king e2, king e7, e4. This is what I did during the game. And then here we played exactly this. Then I checked. My opponent played king e1, king f3, c7, d2 check, d1, king f2, c8 queens, e2 check, d takes, d2 check, king takes d2, e1 check, king c2, and king e2 check. This is the winning move, and I played queen e4 check. Okay, this is difficult, very difficult for human beings to close positions like this. And then after king b1, king g3. This is what I didn't want to do. I was a little bit afraid, but I shouldn't be, because this pawn on b5 is protected by the queen, and this guy is now protected by the king. So in case of queen f5, then I have this king h4. See, the king as an attacking and defending piece. Now I'm gonna grab this pawn because the king is cut, and I can even take on this in case of the queen moves, and it's a winning position. Okay, let's go back. So when my opponent played king e2, I played e4. So yeah, I knew this would be the winning position. Yeah. Then my opponent took. I took an f on e4. g4. It's a mistake according to the computer. Better is to play king e1. Okay, but after e3, king d3, king e5. As you can see, my opponent can't move here because I go after the pawn and take it, and it's winning for black. So my opponent tried to stay behind the pawns and do something. And then here I decide to go for the winning chance. Yeah, it was a courageous decision. We have to be courageous, yeah, in life and in chess. That's why I decided to play king e4. Then my opponent played c6. He decided to promote his queen, and now I have to promote mine or win or lose the game. So this d3 check, king e1, king f3 is the only possible move that doesn't lose. In fact, it's winning. Okay, imagine in case of this, my opponent plays this, and now I'm losing. Because if I go after the pawn, it promotes, and I can't promote these guys. To promote these guys, I would have to go around the pawns and be here, but my opponent is gonna promote with check. So here, knight f3 is the only move. Very nice. I found this on the board. So c7, d2 check, king d1, queen f2, queens, e2 check, king takes on d2, e1 check, and c2. And here was my mistake. It's interesting, isn't it? See how complex and difficult chess is, because if I had played here the check on e2, it would be winning. Yeah, after this variation I showed you before, and this idea of taking this guy and protecting this one with the king and protecting this with the queen. But this check here, now it's just the draw. The most I can get is just a draw. It said, I thought it was winning here, but it wasn't. So my opponent played very well. He played perfectly well. So he played king b3, check there, on b1, king a3, king a1 check, king b3, king a7 check, a4 check, king c3, queen a3 check, and here, if I repeated things here, it would be a draw. So I decided to take on b4. But my opponent can now start using his queen and give some checks, and also threaten to take my pawn, and then it's gonna be liquidation of the pieces and pawns, and then it's a draw. So I played here. It was risky. I thought about playing other things, but I don't know. Let me check here. Let's see, in case of king g3, it's a draw anyway. No chance of winning here. I had just one opportunity and I couldn't find it during the game. So we have usually one chance or two chances sometimes, and if it's over, if it's missed, goodbye. You can't win anymore. That's sad, that's chess. So after this, I played queen f4, then he took my queen, I took here. He advanced his pawn to g5, I moved my king to e2. It would be horrible to, let me show you here. It would be a mistake to play here, a horrible mistake, because my opponent would queen with a check, and then here, yeah, now I'm on check. Now I can't. Let's suppose if I go here, he comes near and can take my pawn and do something, and I'm gonna lose this position. So we have to be very careful about this. Chess is a very complex game, and even at the end of the position or the game, we can lose. We can lose from the first move to the last. It's a crazy thing. So I didn't play this, of course. I played King E2, so getting out of this check. Then my opponent played G6, F3, G7, F2. My opponent queen his queen, F2, F1 queens, and it's a drawn position here, because now he can take my pawn, and the rest is. We played this just because he wanted to win, and he was a little bit angry because I tried to win at any cost. So Queen G4 check, King H2, and another check on H4. Then I can now move my queen, and after this Queen F2 check, I interposed here, and now he can take my queen, and it's a draw, because when I take his queen, he's gonna go after my pawn, take it, and we are left with nothing. So this is a very nice and interesting game. I played to win. I risked everything. I was kind of courageous to try to win this position. I knew it was winning, but I couldn't convert this. And that's something that happened really often with amateurs, with masters and grandmasters. Even the world champion is prone to something like this. He has lost many games, and especially in time trouble. So this is what chess is all about. We have to analyze our games, we have to find out new positions, use the computers to help us, and get better and better with our study and knowledge of new possibilities. Thank you very much. Study. Take care.